What'd you say? What'd you do? You caught me in. She says, you know where the bathroom is.
And we have a lot of different people with different diversity of religious beliefs or non-beliefs. We have a lot of diversity in our genders and races and all other kinds of aspects of human life. And we welcome everybody who would like to learn and be curious about each other so that we can broaden our horizons. So welcome to those who are here today in person, to those who are joining us virtually now or in the future through YouTube. And now we will invite the singing bowl to sound, Reverend Carol Bodeau, who is leading our service today.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, that is really tall right now. Good morning. Okay, we're going to do that again. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is awesome to see you all here this morning. It is a wonderful, beautiful day, and it happens to be the equinox. So today we are talking about the balance of light and dark in our lives. I want to just remind you to take a look at your announcements. If you happen to be here in person, they're in the order of service. A couple of announcements that I want to point out. Building Your Own Theology starts next week. And we had some sign-ups for this. We were just saying, hey, let us know if you want to be part of this, because we wanted to order books. Well, it turns out the book is out of print. So instead of ordering books, I'm going to be making some very environmentally conscious decisions about what I photocopy for you all. So anybody is welcome to attend Building Your Own Theology. It's an opportunity for us to discuss our different paths, which if you were here for last week's service, there were a lot of stories about different paths. And we talk about our paths and where we are. Also, sign-ups for the church retreat at the end of October are happening now. So we reserve a number of cabins at Rock Island State Park. And if you are interested in that, what I need to know is I need to know if I have to cancel some cabins. We reserve a lot, and we may not need all of them, but you can check that out. You can register online. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so as the bowl sings to us this morning, I want to invite you to take it in that spirit. Rather than like, okay, it's sounding, the thing is happening, I want to invite you to consider the fact that the bowl is singing directly to woo-woo, but go with me on it. Just imagine. Maybe you want to close your eyes, maybe not. Just imagine that the sound of the bowl is coming directly to you, into you, inviting you to wake up or relax, whatever it is you need this morning.
I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Yetta Jager, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. We're lighting the chalice now to bring us into community with a poem called Fall Migration. A restless heart, an ancient code, bronze leaves ignite a primal need. Feathered flocks adorn the trees, then go. Wave a yearly fond goodbye. They etch the skies with urgent flight. Wait for me so that I might know where you go and why. Earthbound mortals left at home, time to harvest, to prepare. Family stories, make and share. Welcome. We also light 2 candles, one of concern and one of celebration. We have so many concerns in our lives these days that it's hard to choose one. So I just have concern about the divisiveness in our country and hope that we can come back together in a way that we all are seen and heard and valued. And we also light a candle of celebration. Speaking of migrations, we welcome our migrants who go up to Maine or other places in the north during the summer. We welcome them back into our flock. And now I think we are going to sing "In the Sweet Fields of Autumn." And the words, I think maybe the choir is just doing it, but the words are up on the...
Yeah, so you all are going to recognize this. The choir has learned it. It's one we haven't sung before as a congregation. You're going to recognize the tune, okay? You're going to recognize it as a Christmas tune. It's "Away in the Manger," but with an autumn song. So you are welcome to join us and sing along with us if you would like, but you can also just, if it's more comfortable to you, it's really the words. It's really paying attention to the words that I would invite you to focus on today. It happens to be number 52 in the hymnal if you want to read it more up close, or the words are up here on the screen. Is there anything else we need to do? Okay. So, first, happy equinox, everybody. It is the fall equinox. It is also, just in case you're curious, an eclipse day. For those of you who care about these things, today, I believe it's tonight, I don't know exactly what time, there's a solar eclipse. We can't see it from here, but Australia, New Zealand, those parts of the world are where it's visible. We are currently experiencing this weekend what astronomers and astrologers refer to as a syzygy. And that is a conjunction of two events. So within 24 hours, today we have the eclipse, and tomorrow the equinox is, the exact equinox moment is at like 2:15 or something like that tomorrow afternoon. So it's a cosmic event. So What we're doing today is marking the turning of the season, the changing of the wheel of the year, is how some of us describe it, the turning of the wheel of the year. It's a time when things are shifting, right? So even though it does in fact get up to about 85, 86, yesterday 88, 89 in the afternoon, that only lasts for just a few short hours as opposed to all day long. And I know that you all can probably feel the time shifting, the turning of the seasons. That song that we just sang in Sweet Fields of Autumn kind of points us through the changing of the year, right? It starts out with the grain, the gold grain falling, the clouds drifting lonely, right? And then it's like snow is gonna come. I know that we may not be thinking about it yet, but we know it's right around the corner, right? Bleak rain, deer in the valleys, right? And the last verse of the song, the stillness of death shall stoop over the water, that time of quiet, that time of stillness that is inevitable in the turning of the wheel of the year. So the song has a lot of really beautiful and evocative images in it. It evokes a kind of melancholy, right? Does anybody else notice that fall sometimes feels a little melancholy? Yeah. Have you noticed how we in Western culture tend to deal with melancholy? We do not tend to lean into it. Have you noticed that? In Western culture, we tend not to lean into the melancholy. We tend to lean really hard away from it. We tend to say, okay, things are getting darker. How many Halloween lights can we put up? And how soon can the Christmas ornaments go up? Right? So maybe 3 weeks ago, one of my stepdaughters was like, okay, it's football season has started, school has started, it's Halloween now. We were like, it's still August. She was like, don't care, it's Halloween season. Okay, and when does Christmas start? The week of Thanksgiving. I'm like, but where's Thanksgiving? We lean hard away a lot of times as a culture, and we lean hard into that lightness and the summer and the activity and the business, even as we welcome cooler days and the crispness of the autumn air, right? There is a season of quiet and stillness and surrender just around the corner, and hiding behind all the holiday parties and decorations and things that are about to descend upon us, right? There is a sadness associated with the turning of the seasons at this time. And yet, it can be hard for us to lean into that. It can be hard for us to invite that and to see it as a good thing. It can be hard for us to see that as a good thing. It's kind of ironic the way that we actively combat the dark time of the year with as many lights as we can. And there's some wonderful symbolism in that, right? Bringing light into the darkness is important. But today, I want to invite us to do the opposite of that, to consider the beauty of the darkness, to consider the value of dark night, of shadow, and even a little bit of the things that make us scared in the dark. We want to avoid sadness, loss, anger, longing, grieving, anything we consider painful or bad. And that can be a really good thing. When we fight for the light, that can be a really wonderful thing. And also, at the same time, sometimes resisting what is dark and hard for us can be self-destructive, and make it harder on us as communities. It's really interesting, I think, that the first holiday that comes up during this season is Halloween, right? And in a lot of world traditions, rather than being a time when we actively try to repel death, darkness, the scariness, we embrace it. We embrace it, right? So if you think about the cultures around the world, the earth-based traditions that embrace this as actually the new year, they embrace that darkness and the other realms, if you will, not in defiance, but in compassion and love and welcome. This is not typically how we, in Western culture, turn from the brightness of summer towards the dark of winter. So I thought we might think a little bit today about how health and balance can be achieved, at least in part, by embracing what some cultures call the fertile darkness. Many of you, most of you know that I'm a farmer, right? In that song, the seed, where is the seed? It has to be in darkness. The seed cannot survive if you put it on top of the soil. It has to go into the fertile darkness. It has to go beneath in order to be nurtured in the quiet, in the dark, in the moist, before it can grow. Many earth-based traditions embrace that at this time of year, recognizing this turning of the seasons as a time for us to be quiet, to be still, to go inward. So what would that look like for us? To honor the darkness that's a part of the cycle. It's equal with the light, right? It's equal with the light. The natural world understands that darkness is half of the story. So we throw these around as metaphors a lot of the time, right? We light our chalice and we say we want it to represent the warmth of community, the light of seeking for truth, right? The fire of commitment to our values. The light is symbolic. But what kind of symbolism do we associate with the dark? I want to invite you to think about that for a second. Think about for yourself, what do you think of when you think of the dark? I remember one of my first backpacking trips where it was during a new moon. So it's a new moon right now, right? So one of my first backpacking trips in the new moon, which means it was dark. It was really dark. And I was with a couple other people, and they had already gone into their tent, and I was sitting by myself with the fire out in the wilderness, and it was dark. And it was scary. It was scary. I would like to ask you to give me a show of hands of how many of you have electric lights in your home. Look, it's everybody. How would you feel if your electric lights disappeared for a week? Like lots of like, some are like, ugh, and some are like, yes. As a child, I'm still this way. Please let the power go out. Please let the power go out. Please let the power go out. We have very emotional responses to that pervasive darkness. So one of the things we do in our household is at the points of the year where it's like the equinox or the winter holidays, especially the earth cycle ones, we don't use electricity after sunset. Like, that's a thing. We don't turn on electric lights. It's like when it's dark, it's dark. Why do we do that? We do that to get comfortable with the dark. Because just as the light is an important symbol and metaphor for us humans, so is the dark. But we have a tendency to kind of not want to go there. So I want to talk about a concept in modern psychology, modern spiritual practice, that's a specific invitation into the dark. I'm guessing some of you are familiar with the phrase shadow work. People heard of shadow work? Okay. So shadow work is it's a particular kind of self-reflection, self-growth, personal healing that involves directly meeting and coming to terms with our own inner darkness. What is our inner darkness? What does that mean? We all carry, every one of us, things inside of us, memories, feelings, experiences, behaviors, traits, thoughts that we don't want to come out into the light. That we either don't want to acknowledge or deal with, or that we feel we couldn't bear to face directly. Right? We all have those things. The painful experience we don't want anyone to know about, that we don't want to name. The choice we made that we still really deeply regret. The silent thoughts and feelings that do not match the image we present to the world. All of these things, unaddressed pain, unacknowledged biases, secret wishes, shame, all of those things piled up together inside of us are what we refer to as our shadow. And meeting or dealing with the shadow can be, at best, uncomfortable and sometimes pretty painful. So why, some of you are thinking, why in the world, Carol, would I want to do that? Why dredge up that awful stuff, that uncomfortable stuff, those hard things? What good does that serve? Well, that is the wisdom of the darkness. It is a fertile place where beneath the difficulty and the pain that has not been met or honored lies possibility, lies in unimagined things that could be available that we haven't allowed ourselves to contemplate. In choosing to welcome the dark feeling, the shame, the grief, the sadness, the anger, the judgment, in choosing to name the hurts that we have received and also that we have caused, in allowing ourselves to sit patiently, waiting for fear to arise and be seen. These ways of embracing the darkness allow us to actually transform them. Think about the trite, really overused metaphors in our culture. The butterfly, okay? The butterfly in the cocoon, it's not bright in there. They're not seeing what's going on. There's a transformation that happens that creature surrenders to. The seed in the darkness surrenders to a process of transformation. We are like them. We are like them. I'm not talking about wallowing. I'm not talking about making the darkness your identity, right? That's a different thing. To tell the story over and over and over and over again is not necessarily transmuting it, but to be with it, to really be with it, something can change. So I want to invite you to a little internal exercise right now. I invite you to think of something in you that feels like it's in shadow. A part of your story, a feeling you have, an experience you have, a memory, a thought. Don't think too hard about it. Just whatever comes up first, that's your thing. Because it lives in the unconscious and it's going to arise from the unconscious. And notice, when you allow this thing to come up, what's your first impulse? Does the mind want to explain it? Does the mind want to tell a story about it? Does the mind want to think about anything else? Right? Does the mind want to pick anything else to think about? It's really interesting. The impulse to push away the darkness actually has this really interesting side effect. It causes us to project it and externalize it. We're going to talk more about that next week, because I would suggest that our nation is going through a collective shadow issue. When we don't own our own inner darkness, we got to find somebody out there to blame it on. We got to project it outward. It makes it really easy. Instead of saying what's going on inside of me, one of the ways we push it away is to look at what everybody else is doing. Okay? So ask yourself, what's my initial impulse? I know that for me, I started learning about shadow work 30 years ago, right? So I have cultivated a practice. People who spend a lot of time around me will say that the word I use for this is fascinating. That's fascinating. To cultivate curiosity, to see that darkness as rich, fertile soil, where there's something waiting to be born or to grow that I have not yet claimed because I've been pushing it away. So do we say, oh, that was a long time ago, or that doesn't matter, or that's in the past? Do we say, it's hopeless? Do we get dragged into despair? Sometimes that can happen when we meet that thing in the darkness. We actually need somebody holding our hand to help us retain connection to the light, because it can cause despair. Maybe we're defiant about the darkness, daring anyone to challenge you on it, right? These are our human, normal responses. It is normal and human to have a shadow. There are no people who do not have shadows. It is part of being human. And yet, the shadow unmet takes a lot of energy. It's exhausting. How many of you wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about all the things, fretting, worrying, remembering, wishing? The shadow lurks just behind our busyness, waiting to catch us in the middle of the night in the form of looping thoughts. It can hit us unexpectedly when someone says or does something that triggers that memory. Maybe there's a word. There are words that will trigger those associations, and suddenly we're right back in that thing we really don't want to think about. But the shadow is part of all of us. And the wisdom of the equinox, particularly the fall equinox when we're turning into and towards the darkness, is that just as our light is good and important, so too is our dark. When we're able to meet our darkness like a friend, as part of us, we might be able to transmute it into something else. So when we spend time with the shadow, the shameful memory becomes wisdom. Maybe wisdom about risky choices. Maybe we can share that wisdom with somebody else who's on a path that looks similar to the one we were on. Maybe the painful hurt deep inside ourselves that we don't know how to deal with becomes a deeper commitment to our own well-being. Maybe it becomes a commitment to the safety and well-being of others. A repetitive, protective, defensive judgment of others might become a deeper understanding. When we meet the fear and the pain of feeling threatened or challenged, when we meet that and hold our own inner hand, maybe we're able to be a little bit gentler and more understanding with others who are also being defensive and fearful. Maybe meeting the shadow gives us a chance to really recognize what we truly love, what we truly value. And one of the most important things I have witnessed over many years in my own work with the shadow and that of others is when we go to the shadow and we meet it, usually hiding behind it is the child who existed in us before those experiences, who knows what they want, who knows what they love, who knows what makes them happy. I cannot count the number of people I have sat with and spoken to and said, well, what do you really love? Like, what do you really want? And they say to me, well, I'm supposed to. Well, I know I need to. And I'll be like, no, that's actually not what I asked you. I ask you, what do you want? What do you love? And frequently, the child with the wishes and the dreams and the desires and the hopes is sitting, hiding behind the shadow, because the shadow represents all the pain that got in the way of those dreams and wishes and hopes and sense of possibility. In other words, that shadow, that darkness, is frequently holding our deepest truth, our most vulnerable and valuable selves, in there, in the darkness, just waiting to come up into the light. Now, one tradition that really takes this process seriously is Judaism. So tomorrow is the beginning of the Jewish High Holy Days, and we're going to talk about this much more next week. But just as an intro, tomorrow is the beginning of the Jewish High Holy Days, and they begin with Rosh Hashanah, and this is the time of the new year, and that lasts from sundown on Monday until nightfall on Wednesday. This is a time to reflect on the past and consider the coming of the new year. But unlike our Western New Year tradition, which is, I was thinking about this, it's sort of like a victory celebration. Woohoo, made it! Woohoo, right? Like, let's just party and move on, right? The Jewish High Holy Days really invite an exploration of darkness in the turning of the year. So Rosh Hashanah lasts for a couple of days, and then following Rosh Hashanah, there are 10 days called the Days of Awe. And these days are meant to focus our attention on the darkness, on errors, mistakes, harms we have caused, and harms that have been done to us. We are meant to meet them, to be honest about them, to reflect on them, and the real kicker, talk to each other about them. Right? Because at the end of that comes Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. This year that begins at sundown on October 1st, which is Wednesday, and ends at nightfall on Thursday the 2nd. So what does that mean? It means that you spend time thinking about the last year and the darkness that happened during it, and you name it. And if you've hurt someone, you talk to them about it. And if you've been hurt by someone, you talk to them about it. Now imagine what it would be like to clear those things out of your system every year. How many of us are holding on to pain 10, 20, 30, 40 years after it happened, unresolved and unnamed? So in the Jewish High Holy Days, instead of a big New Year's bash, which goes quickly past and it's all about, like, woohoo, we made it, the Jewish tradition marks the turning of the year with a deep commitment to look at the shadow, to address pain and suffering, not somebody else's out there in the world that we don't know that we are going to go fix, but our own, the wrongs we have experienced and caused. It is a time to make apologies, to atone for errors, and to forgive actively. It seems important to notice for me that some traditions embrace the coming darkness and the darkness within us as being central to humanity and central to well-being. Beginning of healing happens in the darkness. You don't heal if you don't own the darkness. If you can't claim that thing that is inside you that you're hanging on to, you can't heal it. You can avoid it, and you can avoid it, we can avoid it our whole lives. But there is a cost to that. There is a cost to that. The cost of not meeting the shadow, there's a few of them, probably more than I can imagine, but certainly one cost is that joy, hope, possibility that's hiding behind it, never gets met. Those things we were like, oh, I put that away when I was a child. That's not possible, right? The dream. It costs energy to push the thought down every single darn time it comes up. It costs energy to lose sleep. It costs energy to be upset and angry every time we walk past that person, or see that person on the news, or think about that person. It costs energy. It's exhausting. Another cost that's really important that we're going to talk about more next week is that when we don't do it inside, it's super easy to do it outside. Another term from psychology, projection, right? So if I don't want to own that pain that's inside me, it's really easy to focus on what other people are not doing, what they're doing wrong. But just try on for size, and we're going to think about this for a little while, collectively. What if the person you're mad at, because you're scared, is acting the way they are because they're scared? Now, they may not be willing to admit it, right? Maybe they're acting the way they are because they're in pain. One of the things I frequently say when somebody says, so-and-so is doing this or so-and-so is doing that, one of my favorite phrases is, it's all pain management. It's all pain management. It's all pain management. Power struggles, pain management. Demonizing other people, pain management. Oh, that part of ourselves with compassion and kindness. And equally, how willing are we to acknowledge that every person, no matter where they are, religiously, politically, economically, socially, culturally, that every single human being has both dark and light, that we are all the same in that, every one of us. Can we ask ourselves this question? Whose light do I have a tendency to deny or not see because I'm so afraid of their darkness? Whose darkness seems so big that it's impossible to see their light? Here's really the catch with all that. If I'm busy looking at someone else's darkness, it makes it really hard to see their light, which makes it really hard to suggest to them, like, I see your light. Might you want to show that a little bit? I welcome your light. I invite your light. But if I'm pushing away their darkness as well as mine, it's just really hard to find common ground. How willing are we to meet one another in the darkness as well as in the light? To be true companions of one another on this human journey, which is absolutely a mix of fear and heroism. It is a mix of selfishness and generosity. It is a mix of help and harm. None of us is exempt from that mix. That is the wisdom of the equinox. Both coexist together. As Unitarian Universalists, we have a long list of incredibly powerful values that we hold for ourselves, for one another, and we aspire to for the whole world. As humans, we will not live up to those values all the time. We will have moments that we need to atone for, where we are hurt and we need to name it, where we need to have the courage to say, ouch, and I'm sorry. And that is okay. We live in a culture that has told us that is not okay. I would like to just hear, we'll just use a shout out. Maybe you can make a noise if you so or feel so inclined. I'm going to encourage you to do so. How many many of you say, if you have experienced some perfectionism in your own life? Laughter works too. That's an indicator. Perfectionism is the deep cultural conditioning that it's not okay to not be perfect, that it's not okay to be human, that it's not okay to mess up, and that we need to keep proving that we won't mess up and we didn't mess up and we can't mess up and we'll try really hard not to mess up. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could meet each other messed up and be like, it's fine, I totally love you. We could refer back to some errors I have made in worship services lately when I confused the Cadillac Ranch with the Mustang Ranch, for example. Being met with love when I mess up, I couldn't be okay with myself if that were not possible. So I invite you to contemplate in this time of the equinox what it would mean for you to allow darkness in yourself, in others, as equal to the light, because that's what it is. Tomorrow we will be at the point where they are equal. And that is a place where deep wisdom lies. I would encourage us to embrace and meet one another in the shadowy places as well as the bright places. Allow for the transformation that can happen when we meet each other there, meet ourselves there, and our good, loving companions in that place where we can build more hope, more peace, and more love in this world by allowing it to go even to the darkest places. May that be so. So, we try really hard in this community to share light, support, and hope in dark places, which includes supporting places where things are not going very well, where people are struggling, where it's difficult. So we have partners in our community that we call our Justice and Generosity Partners. These are partnerships and organizations that we work with in an attempt to help heal harm. So our current partner is Keep the Tennessee River Beautiful. If we didn't look at what was down in the dredgy, awful bottom of the Tennessee River, if somebody was not willing to go dig those tires out, we'd be in deep trouble, right? That's ugly, dirty work. And yet, as Kathleen Gibby was here recently and is partnered with our Green Sanctuary Committee, the work they're doing is incredible. So you can support this institution. There's a QR code. There's a box in the back of the room. You can support the institution and all the good work we do. You can also support our current partner directly. And throughout the year, we have a number of different partnerships. So our current partnership ends at the end of September. Our last quarter partner, October, November, and December, will be Mobile Meals. And we're going to have a guest speaker from Mobile Meals here to speak about that organization and how we can support them and to learn about those needs in our community. But for the next couple of weeks, it will be Keep the Tennessee River Beautiful. So I invite you, as you are able, learn more about those agencies and the work they're doing. Support them as you are able. So we are right now in a time of great change. We don't know how some of the changes that we're experiencing in our world are going to turn out. Some of us don't know how the changes that are happening in our personal lives are going to turn out. And yet, we do know that the cycle of the seasons will keep turning. That summer will be followed by autumn, will be followed by winter, will be followed by spring, will be followed by summer. And the seasons will keep turning. Our closing song today that we're going to sing is called Chant for the Seasons. And I'm going to ask the choir to come on up and go ahead and stand in front while we sing this. The rest of you are welcome to sing from your seats. This is a song, we just sing one verse of it each season, but every season we reliably do it. So this song, we're going to sing the verse that's for autumn, okay? So I'm going to be at the piano. You are welcome to join in singing or simply just enjoy the music.
Summertime has turned the star with autumn is upon us. Summertime has turned the star with autumn is upon us. Sweet the angling sun, sweet upon the air, the smell of blue mist rising. Summertime has turned the star with autumn is upon us. Glorious the trees, glorious the sight of rust leaves falling, falling. Summertime has turned the star with autumn is upon us.
So I'm going to invite you, if you feel so inclined, you do not have to stand up. You do not have to hold hands. But if you would like to, I invite you to rise. Hold your own hands if you want to. You do not have to hold anybody's hands. Hold your neighbor, someone you came with. But if you feel like it, join hands with others. You're welcome to do so. These words come from the great thinker. We could call him psychologist. We could call him a philosopher. We could call him a theologian, Carl Jung. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole. This community is a place where we welcome companionship in the darkness, not just in the light. You don't have to be perfect here. You get to be who you are, and we meet each other in the darkness as well as in the light. So as you go into this day, this week, into the world, I invite you to welcome yourself in your wholeness, and to the extent that is possible, meet others there. Go in peace, go in peace, go in peace. May it be so.
Nice to meet you.